you want to be rich, but the truth is, most days you've got no motivation. You keep waiting for some spark to push you forward, but it never comes. The crazy part, there's a method you can use right now while it's legal that forces you to take action. Now, I've built multiple YouTube channels to over 50 million long form views and generated over six figures in my early 20s and invested over $200,000 into the stock market. But none of that happened because I was motivated. It happened because I learned how to rewire my system to keep moving forward. Point number one, stop chasing the perfect business model. This is hard because as just someone who's on the internet, what do you look at? You see, drop shipping, social media marketing agency, personal branding, right? You see so many different things, right? There's so many different models that people could do, right? And I'm not even scratching the surface. Affiliate marketing, right? Doing consultations for people, right? There's so many millions of different models people could do. And what's the problem? Right? People start on one business, they go for maybe, couple days, and then what happens? They switch to something else. They say, okay, there's another better opportunity. I'm going to go to that. It looks easier to do. It looks like I can, make money quick. Let me just jump to that, right? And what happens is you have basically all of these models that you try, fail. And at the end of the day, you make no progress or very little progress in any of them, right? And what you really have to look at and take a step back and say, okay, if I tried 10 different models and they all failed, is the problem the model or am I the problem? And what you really need to look at is, are there people that have been successful doing this business? And in a legit way, right? Have people, achieve those type of results that I strive for? And if the answer is yes, then instead of looking at the business model, you need to look at yourself internally, right? What am I doing incorrect that other people are not? What type of person do I need to become to achieve the outcome that I actually want to achieve, right? And most people don't do that introspection, right? They don't look at themselves and say, I'm the problem. The business model is not the problem, right? And what happens is when you jump to all these different business models and make no progress, you literally could have just stuck with one and made a lot more progress over a longer period of time. Because what would have happened, right? You would have had trial and error, right? You kind of would have got past the beginner phase. You maybe got lucky. You made something happen. And you keep learning over the longer period of time. And that's something I even learned with YouTube. The longer that I was in the business, I really understood how YouTube works, right? But a lot of people, you switch so much, right? You see crypto, drop shipping, real estate, all these things, and they can work, but you need to focus on one and become that type of person that can be successful in that lane, right? Before you do all these things. So it's really the internals that you have, right? And success comes from who you become, not the vehicle you pick. Now, number two, your operating system runs on excuses. So we just talked about, right, the operating system, right? We talked about the vehicle. There's a lot of different business models you could have. But what happens is the operating system you run on, and a lot of times it's through excuses, right? Because how many people tell you, oh yeah, I want to start this business. I'm thinking about starting this. I'm kind of working on this. But people are never consistent with what they're doing. You know how many people I've heard say, oh yeah, I want to get into YouTube. And a lot of times, to tell you the truth, I wouldn't even tell people that I did it because I knew they weren't serious, right? And it happens so often, right? Now, if someone was consistent with it, that would be different. But majority of people, they're not even going to upload 10 videos before they quit, right? And you got to understand, if that's the competition that you're dealing with, man, it's never been easier, right? It's never been easier to have motivation because I know he's only going to go 10 videos. I know he's going to only go 15. He's not going to go for a month. He's not going to go for a year. He's not going to go for 10 years. So when you start to realize that, you realize that there really is no competition because people are not going to go that long period of time, right? And what happens is when you run on these excuses like the majority of people do, right? You have to look at it like this. Your habits are your software, right? And your default for a lot of people is that procrastination, right? And they make excuses about, let's say it's YouTube, I'll just post tomorrow, I'll do this, I'll do that, and they sabotage it. And it's really because of their internal, it's not because of the model, right? But once you make upgrades to yourself, you become that type of person that can achieve the outcome that you want, right? You upgrade your routines, your habits. And I always like to say the habits make the person, right? The person does not make the habits. Then what happens? You literally upgrade and you get an opportunity to make one of these models happen, right? It's all about opportunity and increasing your odds of success, right? It's like, for example, if someone uploads, let's say they're posting on Instagram, they want to grow an Instagram page. Do you think it's more likely that you'll go viral if you post 1 or 10, right? So volume also matters a lot too, but that's just an example within a model. But remember, right? You can't run on excuses and expect to have some crazy outcome in business. Now, number 3, leverage forcing functions, right? And this is the hack right here, right? So what you can do, right, with people is you can have accountability partners, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Where let's say we're both drop shippers, right? Okay. We meet every week and talk about it, right? And what does that help us do? It literally helps us stay accountable, right? And even prepaid commitments. You say, if I don't do this, I'm going to pay this amount of money. And maybe you have someone as a medium that's going to pay that money to the person. But what happens is you give yourself no option. It's like when you have a test, right? And the test is tomorrow. Or you got an interview and the interview is tomorrow. You tend to focus a little bit more than you normally would, right? You're not as distracted as you normally would be. And why is that? It's because you know that there's something on the line that you don't want to lose that opportunity, right? And this is no different, right? So you can literally use this as an opportunity to force yourself to do the work. And at the end of the day, you shouldn't need this for the long period of time. But if you have to gain momentum and stick into things, this could help you, right? And this removes some of the slacking off, because all you have now is, I must act, I must do this, right? And it's still, right? It's like hacking your brain in a sense. But all you want to do is cut off those other options that you have, right? And once you consistently do this for a long period of time, you get into a mode of, okay, I'm just gonna make the money. I'm gonna make the money. I'm gonna put in the work on the business, and it almost becomes second nature, to where not working on the business actually becomes not normal, right? It becomes, what's normal is you putting in the work every single day, right? So use this as a tool. Number 4, detach from the outcome, obsess over inputs, right? So you have inputs and outputs, right? So inputs is pretty much the work that you do, and the output is the result. Now what happens is, especially when people are starting on YouTube and that type of stuff, they attach themselves so much to the model, right? Into the results that they have. And it's basically like, for example, they post a video one day and they expect it to blow up literally the next day. And for 99% of people, that's not going to happen. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people who blow up every now and then. But for majority of you, and if you're probably watching this, it's probably not going to be you, right? You're going to have to put in work for a long period of time. But that's how your skills actually compound, right? Even, for example, speaking skills. How do you think I improved my speaking skills if I didn't make videos speaking to a camera, right? Thousands of times. Like, I've literally recorded thousands of videos, right? And people like to compare, for example, my 1000th video and how I articulate myself to their first video, right? But that's literally not how it works, because we all start somewhere, right? But what you have to do is understand and detach yourself from the outcome. Because if you have that burning desire, right, you have a reason for what you want to achieve, or you have this burning desire, you have to detach yourself from outcome. And it's crazy, because this is an equation that I literally used that I would say can almost guarantee you success in whatever business, or field you're trying to pursue, right? And it's burning desire, right? And a burning desire means you wake up, this is the first thing you think about. Before you go to sleep, it's the last thing you're thinking about. All day, you're so obsessed with the business. You're having so much fun. If you can, achieve a certain result, it's going to make and improve your quality of life that much, right? It's something you really are passionate about doing, right? And for me, Instagram was one of those ones, and also YouTube as well. And I was so passionate about those things that it allowed me to use that passion. And I would say, okay, you know what? I'm going to upload, and I was uploading consistently for years, right? We're not even talking about a short period of time, for years to achieve those type of results, right? But I was so detached from the outcome because I said, you know what? I'm happy with just getting a video out there. And that's my input. Doing my research, sitting down, putting in the work, getting a video out. That's literally my input, right? That's putting something out. That's taking the action that you actually have to do. Boom. You do that, I'm not even worried about the views because I know the views are going to come if I stay consistent and if I keep increasing my quality, how I articulate myself, the editing, all of those type of things, right? I know they're going to be a result of those inputs. So I'm not going to worry about the outputs now. I know they're going to show up, but I have to show, the universe and show the world that I'm serious about this. And what happens is if you stick through it, I guarantee you that something's going to happen. You're going to see results. But if you keep, jumping here or there and you're worried about the outcome so much, that's literally a recipe for disaster. And always your input is greater than your output. And especially as you build momentum, that can get easier over time. And especially as you start seeing results, right? Because early on, it's going to be tough mentally. And what you really need to do is just shut off your brain. Say, okay, I'm going to improve each time I do something. Maybe you're selling a product online. I'm going to improve, try to make my research better every single time. But I'm not going to worry so much about the outcome. Now, yes, obviously you want to track your outcomes, but you don't want to be so attached to these things, right? And especially as things begin to work, then it's important to do what works, but you can't be attached to it early on. Now, next point, your why isn't strong enough. You got to have a reason for doing this, right? Financial freedom, time freedom. You want to pursue your passions, whatever it is, right? You want to retire, your family, whatever it is, right? Everyone has a different reason for what they want to do, but you need one. You need one thing that on those days where, your computer crashed and things are just not working out for you, you're wondering, man, should I even do this? And you almost give an excuse for why you take a day off, for why you just, let things kind of go. And you're like, it's not that big of a deal. But when you have a strong enough why, I'm telling you, you'll show up regardless of what day it is. It could be your birthday. Man, I remember it was a birthday of mine, right? And my family, we were going out to dinner. And what happened? I was so focused on the business that honestly, I didn't even want to go out to dinner because I said, man, I got to work. I got work to do. I gotta get this video out, right? But that's literally, I had that burning desire and I was so hardwired to do what was necessary that, and obviously I'm not saying don't celebrate certain things, but it made me so just obsessed with what I was doing. And that was a key ingredient that allowed me to persist as long as I did, right? So you gotta find that why is for you because it will just destroy any excuse that you do have. Next point, replace dopamine leaks with dopamine streaks, right? So what happens, right? You have all of these things that can rewire your brain to not be able to focus on something, right? What do you have? You have Instagram shorts, YouTube shorts, you have TikTok, online shopping, right? All these different things that it gives you an insane amount of dopamine, right? And what happens is your brain gets used to that insane amount and then you crave it more and more. So it literally can cause you not to be as focused, right? Not to be, as on point as you normally would. And it's literally changing your brain, right? So if you really want to be serious about this, right? You really want to lock in and be able to focus, you got to take a step back and clean up your personal life, right? You have to be able to, and especially things like reading can help you focus for longer periods of time too. But you have to be able to control where your time, energy, and attention goes, right? So when you control all of these things, again, you're becoming the type of person, that would succeed in business, right? But if you have all of these things, sure, are there people that succeed with them? Absolutely. But are you going to make it that much harder for yourself to actually, be successful and achieve the outcome? Is it going to delay what you actually want to achieve? There's a chance it could, right? So that's why you have to be careful with, where are you getting those, dopamine spikes from? Especially, I mean, if you're in IRL in real life, that is much better, right? Than just scrolling the phone all day. And then you expect, after scrolling for, 30 minutes on TikTok, you expect that you're going to sit down for, the rest of the day, 5 hours, and just be able to consistently work on the business. Man, it's not going to happen. Like, you're never going to make it that way. Now, last point, action is greater than motivation. Now, if you want to guarantee, right, that you see some type of result, it's just take action, right? Don't wait for things to be perfect. Start, then learn, right? Because you'll learn on the way. But a lot of times people are so worried about, step 10 when they haven't even hit step 3, right? So focus on the step in front of you and just take action, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, but taking action is better than no action at all, right? And a lot of people, what do? They wait till they feel ready. They wait till they, they it's just waiting for the perfect moment that is not going to happen, right? And you heard that a million times, right? But those actionable days, those times where you didn't have it perfect but you put it out there, it allows you to have something to reflect on and improve over the long period of time. So move first and motivation will follow. Now, if you enjoy these types of videos and want to learn more about these type of topics, business, personal finance, man, click this video on the screen to learn a lot more.